The root ball was about 45 feet in diameter, comes in at over 500,000 pounds.
The secret is, like I watched my mom so many times, she would take a plant out of a pot.
It was touch and go whether we could actually get in there. The 6 inches between the ears was the biggest thing that he wanted to challenge. We could tell that that tee complex was going to be dramatic.
I just can't wait for somebody that hasn't played in the Players to walk up there and see it for the first time and go, wow. The way the golf course was built, first of all, for the fans and for hospitality and things like that, it was ahead of its time. The golf course and the vision of the property led to the elevation of the Players as a major championship.
The tournament's far bigger now than it ever was. So things are going to change from that, from a gallery standpoint, moving people around this facility. From a playing standpoint, the equipment's changed, the ball's changed. The athletes themselves have changed and have gotten better over time.
It's always evolving, and now it's evolved to a place where maybe we've lost some of the Pete Dye edge because we're going more for things outside the ropes. All we're doing is, it's a 57 Chevy, and when we get done, we want it to be a 57 Chevy. We don't want it to be anything other than that.
The problem is, I got too many of them. Like,
sending them around.
that's what Jay Monahan and I were saying, like, which era do you go back to? Because there was the first generation.
This tree blows my mind.
And then it changed. And then there was the next generation.
Talk about visual intimidation.
And then it changed.
It's a great golf hole. There's not a lot of things you can do to it to make it that much better, but there was an element that was missing, and that element that was missing from original was the tree.
The tree is symbolic and it's historic. Pete wanted the tree to not really be in the way, but wanted you to think it was in the way. And it got to the point where it was literally in the way. It started drooping.
I've never seen anybody hit it, but you sure do think about it. It's in the way.
So we kind of back and forth. That tree kind of met its demise in 2014.
I think early on, Jeff Plott said this a couple times, we need to do this first and make a statement.
The idea was to go in and redo the tee complex. And the thought was, hey, should we put this tree back in?
40-foot root ball, that's correct. So you're going to have an idea of where it's going before it gets here.
So in a perfect world, you'd put it at the same relationship that he had it before, but we can't nail that down.
We don't know if we can truly recreate.
Let's just pretend we've already moved the tree.
This is the tee, right?
That's the middle of the...
I look at it, I'm standing at the middle of the tee. To find the perfect tree to fit that scenario, it was just fate for us a little bit. Davis just has an absolute passion for Pete Dye designed golf courses.
We'll draw the bunker and then come out here and stand on the tee.
Yeah, look at it and
And
make sure. Okay, I just...
Because when they're closed, it'll be a lot easier.
Yeah.
So he's the perfect fit for us here.
Too high, right?
He's probably a better fit than I ever really knew that he was. He's one here, has experienced the evolution of this property.
It's good that I got so many pictures.
Right.
That's what we ought to do to 12.
Since coming here early 80s with my dad and watching the tournament start and grow and course change, to come walk through the Davis Love Gate and meet up with rules and look at it from a different take. Like, I can show you an old picture that I want number 6 to look like, but then when you think about, well, wait a minute, we got to think about moving people around here and TV. It's an incredible responsibility just to be a part of it.
But what we're saying is, if we find a really good place for the tree, that you get it the trunk the right distance from, then we can play with the tee a little bit.
Jeff Plotz, the green superintendent, has an incredible responsibility to protect and grow Pete Dye's golf course. And everybody sees it as like that, as a piece of art.
See, Pete had it where it really wasn't in play, but it was intimidating. Then we backed the tee up 10 yards, and then it became
In play.
in play. So we'd like to have that option.
Yes.
But see, my thing is like these two trees, if you want to save them, it goes in the middle, and then we have to play with this. And in a year or two, you can lop off a limb and make it even more freedom.
What was your relationship with that tree as a player?
Well, as a player, I hit under it. As a player director on the PGA Tour, and people complaining to me that the tree was getting more and more in the way, I got credit for the tree having to come down.
What were your thoughts about the tree on the tee box at 6? And is there any part of you that's sad to see it go?
I definitely wasn't emotionally attached to it. And
Davis was all excited about putting the tree back, and when I started to do some research on the tree, trying to find photos and looking up old copies of articles that had been written about that, Davis's name was pretty prevalent in those articles of that he was not fond of it.
When Jeff said, I've got one, let's go look at it, and we walk 100 yards down in the woods to the right of 6, and he goes, this is the one. And I go, well, that could be the one, and that could be the one. He goes, no, look at it, this is the one.
We had a tree in mind that was fairly close and was very achievable. It just fits so naturally, and you go back and you reflect on some of the old pictures from the beginning days, and you see some of those elements starting to pop back out again. That's the thing that kind of excites you and gets you motivated to do the right things.
Even though it's commonplace, it's still dramatic when you take a hundreds-of-year-old tree and pick it up and move it.
We found a tree approximately 100 yards down the hole on the right. To move a tree of that size, you have to be relatively close. The root ball was about 45 feet in diameter, comes in at over 500,000 pounds. We came in the very 1st of June, and they start digging the root ball.
The secret is, like I watched my mom so many times, she would take a plant out of a pot, the roots were all, and then she'd put it in a bigger pot so it would grow. You just dig around the whole circumference of the drip line of the tree.
I'm sitting there going, all right, how do you get it out of the hole? But then they did dig this big ramp and then hammer in these pipes. It's a spoon is what they call it, and it goes under the pipes and pulls dirt out from underneath the pipes. When they get enough soil out from underneath the pipes, they take these big bladders and slide under the pipes and then inflate them. The bladders are just, essentially they're large inflatable tubes. And the bladders that you'll see when large ships are rolled before they go into water. It's those types of bladders. So they get the root ball up on that, and then 2 excavators will pull the tree on bladders. And then there's a group of guys, when one bladder comes out, the team moves it forward, so they just kind of an assembly line. But they have to keep the air compressor and the hoses and all those things attached to try to keep it working. But that's a massive amount of tree that's being moved at that time.
You dig the hole to get it out, but you also have to dig a hole to put it in. If it's done right, the tree actually can stay the same or get better. If you dig it too high, everything around it doesn't look natural. The company that was moving it cared, and everybody around on the crew cared, and Jeff, it's his baby.
When that tree got in location, and it was just a sense of relief, instantly we could tell that that tee complex was going to be dramatic. And yeah, we christened it with a beer, the group did, and it was really a great feat.
I just can't wait for somebody that hasn't played in the Players to walk up there and see it for the first time and go, wow. And then somebody to tell them the story of the history of that tree. That's what's going to be fun. Now, if you want to see me during the Players, I'll be right here. I want to come watch the first guys go through there, and the guys that I know, and watch them hit underneath it. The work at TPC Sawgrass is more personal. My dad brought me here when it opened to play golf and for me to shoot about 85. To be a small part of the team that's putting it back and continuing the tradition is just one of the most thrilling things we've done in golf course design, to be a part of this team.